All right, shall we move on to this next topic? Okay, thank you for joining us. Keep the conversation rolling. We are going to talk next about Tiger Woods. So the latest in that, he was arrested for suspicion of DUI, driving under the influence. He did have a field sobriety test. He blew 0.00%, no alcohol in his system. But he's coming out and saying, and he put out a statement, and paraphrasing here, saying that it was an unexpected reaction to a mixture of prescription drugs. But what's startling is to look at this video and see what prescription drugs, if this is the truth, if he's telling the truth, and I mean, he blew zero when it came to alcohol, so there was something in his system that was affecting him. I mean, he's delirious. He does not know what he's doing. He was pulled over on the side of the road, sleeping. His right blinker was on, his brake lights were on, he couldn't walk a line, his eyes are closed. And if you hear this, it is a startling video to think, oh my gosh, the conversation now is it's much more than just alcohol. You hear DUI, like Walt said yesterday, you think, oh, there was alcohol, he was out at the bar, he was driving, how irresponsible. Not saying that this is not irresponsible. The fact of the matter is he had something in his system. He knew he was taking prescription drugs. We all know that affects you. And then he was pulled over on the side of the road, and he got arrested. So we want to ask you, you know, what you have to say about this.
Yeah, and I posted the video on my Facebook page yesterday, and I didn't give a whole lot of context as to why I did. And I got a lot of negative feedback about why I posted it, and people saying, you know, you're trying to make him look even more in poor light, you're trying to shame him, trying to bring out more of the embarrassment for him. And I want to be clear, the reason why I posted it, so I've gone back and re-typed up what I said, was because I think so many people don't realize that driving while under the influence of prescribed medication can be deadly. It can be incredibly dangerous to other people on the road. And this is something that so many of us probably have access to. How many times have I been given a certain medication because I had something going on that in the back of that pill bottle said, do not operate heavy machinery. And it is the responsibility of the person taking those medications to know that there is a reason for that warning on that label. And so when I posted the video, it was more to bring light to the fact that if you are going to be someone who is taking prescription medications, just please, please, please talk to your doctor about what the side effects are going to be, because this is considered driving under the influence, and he was arrested for DUI in this case.
So when I saw the video, well, let me start with this. The backlash that I see on my Facebook and Twitter, Instagram feeds is not necessarily so much about driving under the influence. It's the idea of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Meaning you take some medicine, you realize, oh man, I'm a little too woozy. Let me pull off the road because I don't want to drive and endanger somebody, and then you get arrested anyway. So that was what was on my timeline, not necessarily the discussion around what we constitute as being under the influence. It was, I realized that something that I did was messed up, and I did what I thought I was supposed to do to fix that, and then I still get arrested for it.
But
and now we see the video.
In that case, that Tiger had that conversation with himself.
Well, if you pull over, I'm only assuming if you're looking like he was in that video, and you pull over, you recognize, hey, I need to pull over.
Right.
So
he wasn't continuing.
He wasn't continuing on. They didn't stop him, pull him over.
Right.
He pulled himself over too. So to even get to that point, you had to at some point, I'm assuming, recognize that you were doing something that was dangerous, and then you still end up in this situation. You still end up arrested. You still end up this way, even though you tried to help the situation.
Right.
Not saying that driving, and I'm not saying anything about the driving under an influence. I'm saying it was the concept of, so if you are in the situation, let's say you have a bad back and you take your medicine because your back is throbbing, and if something goes wrong, you made a mistake and took some Advil with it, and you're woozy, what do? You pull over. But then damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Don't you think there has to be consequences? Because then I could see people taking advantage of this.
Well, there should be consequences, but again, what was the right thing to do?
Right.
So we won't do it.
Not get in the car when you're taking prescription drugs.
But all prescription drugs, and that's the thing. So, and I'm interested to see what comes out after we get the statement from Tiger about
what drugs
really
were
happened.
they?
What drugs
was
were they?
there a warning label? the combination, just like, you know, and this is a weird, but it's what I'm thinking of yesterday with the banana boat sunscreen. You know, sometimes the reaction is unexpected because, well, to the rest of the world, it's fine if they take it or if they put the sunscreen on, nothing happens to the body. But in some cases, the baby's body gets completely burned because of the chemistry between the sunscreen and the skin. In this case, maybe the bottom. These are all assumptions. Maybe the bottle said you're going to be fine, and he wasn't when he mixed them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and are we chemists? We don't really know.
Right, we don't know.
Really
I mean, we have to wait and see. But I guess it was
Exactly.
more about the feeling. What was your feeling when you saw that video? Should we share it as media members and put Tiger Woods on blast if maybe this was not his fault?
Okay, so I'm going to push back on one thing.
Okay.
This is what I have a problem with. The way the legal system works in the United States is you are innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
Now, we are going to make a lot of assumptions here that are probably going to be spot on when this goes through the whole process. I have a problem with 911 tapes being released.
Yeah.
This is dash cam video of a still ongoing thing. I know he was
Private
arrested
moment.
and charged. Has he been arraigned? Where are we in the legal process? This kind of stuff, I'm fine with that being released to a jury in a trial. But there's a bunch of things ahead of time. And I know that there are laws, especially in Florida, this stuff is really easy to get. TMZ was all over it because they know the process there. Your mugshots, dash cam video, there's a bunch of things that they can request and they're going to get access to and they're going to release it because some of this stuff is public information. But this is just from me. I have a problem with all of this stuff being out there before we are at that point in the whole legal process.
Because he'll live on the internet for the rest of his life.
Exactly.
And everyone else.
Well, and
Let's
we
just
are
say
now
this.
judging based on what we assume out of the
Right.
video
And
rather
we
than
are
Yeah,
not
exactly.
officers.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I understand it's part of the arrest record, the police report. This is all admissible and all this stuff. But I'm just saying, you know, like the 911 tapes and the body cam video of that of what happened in Orlando.
Nightclub. But
Well,
the difference
sometimes
with that,
you
it's
need-
almost been a year and it is highly edited.
And sometimes
at
you
this point.
do need body cam footage and dash cam
Oh.
footage, and you have incidents
For
where
a
you have
case.
law enforcement abusing power. and
'Cause in
things
that
go
case, we're
awry,
like, thank
then
God
we're not
for the
even
dash
show
Oh,
me
cam.
the
I'm not,
cam. Show
I'm
me
not
the
saying don't have it.
Right.
No, I'm not saying
So
don't
you
have
slide
it.
that point in, though.
I'm not
okay.
saying don't have it.
You're right. You're right.
But,
Give me the cam.
but what I'm saying is, let's just say this, and this is what I always, whenever I'm on this show,
Bring
I always
it,
try
baby.
and bring this point home. What
Okay.
if that were you? For example, let's just to say something awful happened at my house with my family. I call 911 and I'm reporting what's going on. Maybe it's something with my neighbor. Maybe there's a fire across the street and I'm erratic, I'm rattled, I'm emotional, and all this stuff goes on. And someone says, "Hey, local
Maybe
weather
you see
guy
tens
freaks
of
out on
weather."
911 tape. Let's get a hold of this," and then they play it. Look. Why do we have access to that? Where is that? But you know what? In the process, and we've seen this so many times, all the time it happens, is that people in their worst moment becomes public record and it's blasted everywhere. And
that's
my
what
whole
sticks.
point is, if you're comfortable with all of this, with dash cam video being released before you go to trial, what have you, what if that were you?
You have to be
What if
comfortable
there's
if
a
it were to
special?
happen to you.
We know some of the circumstances here, but what if the circumstances in your personal situation were different, and then the dash cam video gets released, and you still have a side of the story to tell, but you're not going to tell it because you have a lawyer and it's not your day in
I
court?
hear you on
I
this.
have a problem with this.
I hear you. However, and this might make a lot of people angry, but it is our job as a journalist, as journalists,
Members
Right.
of the
to,
media.
when we have information that we think could be of value or benefit to society, typically we use judgment ethically to decide whether or not it's good or not. Sometimes we miss the mark with some people, sometimes they enjoy it, sometimes they dislike it.
Okay.
I'm curious, real quickly though, do you think that we should be showing the dash cam video? Are you upset by that?
Okay.
Personally, real quickly, I found it educational. Because you can clearly
Sure.
see, he came out and said that it was prescription medication. We're not assuming that. We didn't have to take that to a trial to be able to release that information. He said that. So now we have this image to go with his story. So in
Right.
my opinion, I thought it was educational to
But
say,
the story
look.
came about because the way people responded to your original post. And it could have been the same thing because I was one of the first to share, you know, the released footage of Orlando, not thinking about how about those parents whose kid is right there in front of that officer.
Right.
How about those parents who are listening to that phone call that was probably them? Terrifying,
Oh, yeah.
devastating, and
Right.
there I am sharing it and adding to it. Again, that was edited. In this case, and we both did it, we're sharing Tiger Woods stuff, not realizing, but until someone says, "Wait, why are you doing this?"
Questioning it.
Then we questioned ourselves and said, "Well, because it's educational." but that wasn't the original intent.
No.
Well,
when
then-
posting, and
it
I'll admit
depends
that.
on who you're
Is
talking
TMZ
to
an
and
educational
who's
website?
saying
No.
it. Because-
That wasn't my
I'm
first
sorry, I
intent. I
didn't
get it
That's okay.
now.
Right.
It depends on who. It depends on people's perception of what you see. Because sometimes when you have things released like police footage or backstories on people, people like we had Dr. David Dow and they dug up all the dirt on Dr. David Dow. Automatically, certain groups of people see that as character assassination and aiming to put someone in a negative light with covering it with I'm trying to show the facts. Because that's a history that's been going on in America. Unfortunately, that's just where we are. So some people automatically have a visceral reaction to it without even trying to see your side of the story, because it becomes that situation where they're like, okay, here we go again. So again, it just depends on your perception, what you've been through, life experiences, but I mean, what you damned if you do, damned if you don't.
And Monica says this, no, you shouldn't be showing it. I hear you, Monica. And she says, shouldn't have been released by the police department. Because I think that's when sometimes we say, well, it was released already. That means that it's now within our jurisdiction to decide if we want to show it. But clearly the police department said, here.
And what was their intent? Are they
Right,
saying
they
this
might
is for
have had to.
educational?
I think in Florida, Florida law is that they have to release it.
Well, then why didn't they release Orlando?
That I don't know.
A year ago.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I don't know. Okay. Well, I know we're in
If
OT.
I don't know something, I'm
yeah.
going to say I don't know.
They can hold it back for an active criminal investigation, producer Billy is saying in my
Okay.
ear now. So we're going to keep this conversation going. We are in a little bit of overtime
Yes.
now. Dina has to go anchor the 9 o'clock show. We do have the latest. You can go to my Facebook page, any of our Facebook pages. We do have the latest on Kathy Griffin, how she has been pulled from CNN because of that, what looked like Donald Trump in the decapitated photo that went viral yesterday. If that's not a tease, I don't know what
Yeah.
is.
Also,
But yeah,
the 7th grader, her poem that she
Yes.
read aloud, I put it on my Facebook page. Go
such
check
a
it
cool
out.
moment.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, thanks for joining us on Extra Shot. Thank you, Rob, for joining us.
Yes,
Hey, no
thank
problem.
You
you.
guys go do the 9.
Okay.
Bye. And join them,
Bye.
Channel 10 right now.